It might sound crazy to suggest that Krishna and Christ were pointing towards the same truth. Because of course, on the surface, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible both sound very different from each other. They are both telling very different stories, they're set in different times and different places, so how can they be the same? Well, if we stop reading them like belief systems or doctrine, then we can start listening to the shared experience that they are both describing. But let's just quickly look at the difference. The Bhagavad Gita seems to say, you are not the doer. You are not this body. You are Brahman itself. And the Bible says, you are a creature, you are separate from God, and salvation comes through relationship. So which is it? Is it identity or is it relationship? Is it unity or is it devotion to something separate from yourself? Well, maybe it's that both of them are pointing beyond the ego. They're just speaking in different symbolic languages. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking to Arjuna at the point of existential crisis. He's about to lead his armies into battle, and he fears fighting, and he fears responsibility, and he fears being the one to act. Now, Krishna's response to this is really interesting. He says, while actions are being done in every way by the gunas, qualities of nature, one who is deluded by egoism thinks thus, I am the doer. This is a direct strike at the egoic sense of authorship. And then later, Krishna says, abandoning all forms of rights and duties, take refuge in me alone. Now, in a non-dual reading of this, especially in Advaita Vedanta, this doesn't mean to pay obedience to a separate deity. It means letting go of all sense of self and concepts and just resting in the ground of awareness itself. Krishna makes this even clearer when he says, I am the self residing in the heart of all beings. This isn't an external God speaking here, it is consciousness recognizing itself. Now here's where it gets interesting, because something remarkably similar to this appears in the Bible. Jesus repeatedly speaks in ways that unsettles dualistic interpretations. He says, the kingdom of God is within you. So not approaching, not at some point in the future, here and now within you. He also says, I and the Father are one, and remain in me as I also remain in you. This is language of union. And then St. Paul takes this even further when he says, I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. From a mystical perspective, this is no different from the Advaitic claim that the personal self dissolves and all that remains is the true self. And one of the strongest bridges between the Gita and the Bible is their shared approach to action. Krishna says, your right is for action alone, never for the results. So act fully, but don't cling to the results of your actions. And Jesus teaches with the same spirit. He says, do not worry about tomorrow. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow, they toil not. So you can see that in both traditions, suffering comes not from the actions that we take, but from believing that we are the controller. So are Christ and Krishna saying the same thing? Well, we can see that it's not exactly the same in how they're wording it, because the Bhagavad Gita talks about identity, you are that, and the Bible talks about relationship, you are in God. But mystically, identity and relationship collapse into the same realization. Meister Eckhart, the Christian mystic, said it perfectly when he said, the eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. At that point, who is separate from whom? This doesn't mean that the Hindu and the Christian traditions are the same, because obviously they aren't. But it suggests that across cultures, languages and centuries, humans who touched the deepest layer of reality reported the same disappearance of the separate self. Then they just tried to explain it using the symbols that they had available to them. There was an early 3rd century Christian scholar and theologian called Origen, and he said that in scripture there are 3 ways of interpreting it. There is the literal meaning, there is the moral meaning and there's the spiritual meaning. And you have to understand each one at a time. So first you understand the literal. So you read a story and you understand what the story is saying, what events they are describing. But if you get stuck on that level and think that is all there is to it, then you are never going to understand the deep spiritual meaning of the story. And when we look at the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible, we can see that yes, they have different superficial stories, but when you look deep, you can find the true meaning beneath all of them, which is that we are all one with the divine. If you enjoyed this exploration, you won't believe how many more non-dualistic teachings there are in the Bible. Watch this video now to find out.